Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to show a tooltip. That means when some of the product is added to the cart, you'll find a tooltip saying that this particular product is added to the cart. So you see Dell Inspiron added to the cart, and if you click on it, you'll get into the cart page. Similarly, not in the single product page, so this code is going to work on your shop page, your related product section in the single product page, and in the home page you'll find the list of products. There also it will work. Now I'm giving a disclaimer because we are going to work on single product page. So there are two ways of adding this tooltip. The one way of adding is through Ajax, that you can the way where Ajax happens is in the shop page, in the related product section, in the home page. So in these three sections the add to cart button uses Ajax, whereas in single product page the case is different. Here what we are going to do is, let me just show you an example. When I click on a cart, you'll see the Ajax is not going to work. Instead, a page is going to get reloaded, and once it got reloaded, you'll find I have added this with my custom code, but this is the other way. I just wanted to make you understand that there are two ways, one with the Ajax and one without the Ajax. Here in this case, what we will do is, since the Ajax won't work here because as I click the page is getting reloaded. Now here what we would do is we'll make use of session storage. I'm not going to overwhelm you with the jargons. I'm just going to make this simplified. As of now, just understand there are two ways, and we are going to see those two ways in this particular video, and the more focus on session storage. So that's fun. That's the intro that I wanted to give. Now let us create a plugin from scratch. To create any plugin, we have to get into the plugin section. Just check for the install plugin, and now what we need to do is, let me just deactivate the old one so that it doesn't get conflict with our current plugin. So the steps that we are going to take is, we are going to add our jQuery using enqueue script. That's step number one. And the step number two is, when I click on the add to cart button, a session storage variable should get created. That's step number two. And once the session storage variable is created, I have to send those session storage variable to an Ajax. Here we'll see how to use Ajax in WooCommerce. So this is the first video with WooCommerce I'm creating with Ajax. Previously I have done many Ajax video in WordPress plugin playlist. Now here in the third step, we'll use the session storage variable which holds a product ID, and we'll send it to the Ajax, and this Ajax fetches the product information and sends the request back to the jQuery, and in the jQuery we will manipulate the HTML. So these are four steps. First one, adding jQuery to your product, which is with enqueue script. Second one, saving the session storage on form submit. Third step, since the variable is stored in the session, we have to fetch those value and send the ID. So in the session we will be storing ID. Send the ID to the Ajax, and Ajax will fetch the product from the database and send information like images and product name to the jQuery. So four step. Cool. Now let's just add a plugin. So we'll name this plugin WooToast. So we can name it as WooToast. So that's a toast in web development term. So let's create a new file inside WooToast. So we had named our plugin as WooToast. And it should be PHP file. It's recommended to have the same name as the folder name. That's why I'm emphasizing WooToast twice. Now I need to give information about, like, description, version number, who is the author, and what is the plugin is about, and what is the plugin name. So it can be given with the help of PHP metadata. Sorry, it's PHP comment. So we can name it as WooToast, and the description about the plugin, the version plugin, and the author, which is me. And that's enough to make your plugin visible on this particular page, which is install plugin. Now if you install, it won't work because we don't have any code in it. So let's just enqueue our JavaScript. So to do that, we need a JS file here and a CSS file here. on the same folder. We'll name it as script.js, and we'll name it as style.css. Now, how are we going to enqueue that? We have seen it multiple times in the plugin development series. We just have to call a hook, which is enqueue script. Now we need to add our style, add our JavaScript, and this is the variable for the Ajax. I'll explain why it's needed. Since it's first video in WooCommerce series, I'll just dive a little deeper here. Now this is the handle for WordPress to know that what name to give to your style. Again, this is for the JS file, and I'm saying, so this is the name. It is termed as WordPress handle. Now this is the location that I'm saying. In this location my style.css exists. The same way, in this location my script.js exists, and before loading my script, make sure to run the jQuery. So this is dependency, it's an array. It says before running my script, make sure to run the jQuery, and it says load my script at the last, so I'm saying true, and it's for cache bursting. Cool. Now this is for the Ajax. So why we are naming we want to use a variable in the jQuery so that it knows where our Ajax file is located. So usually we can directly name them admin-ajax.js. In the jQuery there is a variable which expects where to send your Ajax request. So in that place we can directly send this way, but there are many cases where your WordPress would be in subdomain. I hope you are getting me. In that case, if you directly run this, your plugin would break. So to stop that, we are saying that we are additionally creating a variable. So WordPress knows even if your WordPress is loaded in a subdomain, this plugin would not break your website. So I'll explain you how are we going to use that. We will be using this variable. So in the same way, we'll be using this variable with the object name. It's an array. So once I write this, WordPress will automatically change it to the domain, then ajax.ur. I hope it's clear. So this is important when you run your Ajax. It's not 100% important, because when you load it directly on your domain without subdomain, this code is not at all required. But there are cases where you need custom coding. So in that case, this would definitely need it, or else your plugin would break. So this, now let's just fill the script. So what do we need? Let's just activate this. So when I click on the add to cart button, I want to store a session. Where the session will be stored? Session will be stored in the application tab. This is console. So if you press F12, you'll see this Chrome Inspector tab. Get into the application, get into the session storage, and as of now there is one session variable. We don't have to worry about it. But when I click on the form, so this is actually a form. You'll see this form. When I click on this form, when the form is getting submitted, you'll find the form actually has many values. So you see, I'll just show you right away. And let's just select a product first. So if I open the form, you will find many things like the drop down. We have drop down, and if I get into the button section, if you see in the button section, it has, just after the button section, we have input type hidden. So input type hidden, add to cart. So this is the product ID again. So input type hidden, product _ID, it's the product ID again. So these are the product ID that we are going to fetch. So when a form is submitted, I'm going to get this value and I'll be storing it into a session storage. So let's do that. So So I'm saying on, so this is a form that I'm selecting. When it's getting submitted, I want this form's input field, which is add to cart, which I have shown you. I want this value add to cart, and I'm getting that value and storing it to a session. So this is session storage, which JavaScript gives you. Session storage is a state item. So if you see, there is a key value there. So this is key, this is value. So we are setting the key and the value as the ID that we are getting. So key and value. So once I submit, you will find, let me just refresh this, make sure our plugin is active or else it won't work. White, add to cart. If everything goes right, you will see the session got saved. Now since we have the session, the reason for, I'll just show you why we need a session. If we don't have session, once the page get refreshed, you will have no data to send it to the Ajax. So that's the reason I am triggering our Ajax on page load. So once our session is stored, now we have a session in our application tab. So let's open it. F12, in the application tab we have our session variable. Now what we are going to do is, we'll send the Ajax request now. And before sending Ajax request, what we need to do is, so I'm getting the session which we can set with the set item, and we can get it with the get item. So with this get item, the 13 will be stored in the added. And now if I'm checking if the 13 is added, then send that value to the load form. Here in the load form, we will write the jQuery for Ajax, jQuery with Ajax. Now once I receive this in the Ajax code, I'll immediately remove the ID which is added. So let me just comment this. So if I refresh, I'll show you. Let's just pin this so that you can have a better understanding. So if I click, now I want you to look at this key. If I click on add, you will find that value for some time, and then it will disappear. See, when I click, it got added, and once the page runs, it get disappeared. So that's because, so on click, the session storage is getting added, but after the page is getting reloaded, this code runs and it removes it, because we don't want two variables with same key. So that's the reason I'm removing it, and I'll explain why I have removed it later on, because it will break the flow. Now I hope you understand. Now let's work on the Ajax code. So Ajax code is very simple. We are sending that ID and we are setting the Ajax. So this is how we set Ajax. As I said, this is a URL which we are accessing, the admin-ajax.php. So this will give you this variable. So that is admin-ajax.php, and I'm sending the product ID which we have received from the session storage. Over here we are receiving it, and I'm passing it to the session ID. So over here we are setting two values. One is action, the other one is product ID. So if there is any response, then we'll make that div. We'll create the HTML div and append it in the footer and make this show. So before that, what I want to notice is there is a variable called action. So this action is required. So this action defines whichever value we are sending. We are sending post ID, right? So this has to go somewhere so that it can do its manipulation. So that's why this action is required. So I want you to notice this. So just note this somewhere. Now we need to write a code to have the to do the manipulation, so that we get a reply on the function. So these requests, where it is going to send, I'm creating a hook. So you can see, I just want you to notice admin-ajax underscore. So this is static, and whatever that comes after that is actually the action term. So you see, whatever that comes action is an action term. So this is the WordPress hook which gives you, and when this hook runs, I am writing my custom function. So these, we have two values. So one is for logged in user and one is for non-logged in user. I hope I have made it clear, because I have made it clear very well on my plugin tutorial WordPress plugin playlist. So if I do it again, so it doesn't make sense. So this is what you have to know for the start. So we have two functions, one for logged in user, one for not logged in user, and we have a action attribute so that we can do a manipulation and send back the data to as a response. Now we have to define this function, and this function will simply get the product ID. We have received the product ID because we are sending it over here. We are sending it through the post variable, super global variable, and we are accessing it. We got it. Once we got it, I am using the PHP WordPress global variable product, and with the help of product, I am simply getting the name and I am simply getting the thumbnail image. So once I get those, I am sending it as a response. So once we send it as a response, we want to manipulate the HTML. So once you click on add to cart, you will find that small HTML shows up. So let's add that in the footer section. So we have a hook called WP footer where we will add this HTML. So in the WP footer, I am just adding this HTML and the relevant CSS that I need to add. So this CSS is blank now. Let me fill the CSS, and once it is filled and once our HTML is set, so this is the HTML which will show your thumbnail image, your product name, and your add to cart button. So this is coming from the default function which WordPress provides you, get cart URL. Now this is not the concept that we have to look on. So this HTML is required. So in this HTML is going to get manipulated as we get response from the Ajax. We got the response and we have received the response, and over here in the if condition we will manipulate the HTML. How are we going to do that? We need to fetch the ID. So over here, if you see, if you fetch the ID, and we are fetching the image from the response, so response dot data dot image. So we are sending this over here as a response. So to access, response is the parameter, and if it is success, then we have data dot image. So this image and this title, we are sending it as an associative array, title and image. So we can access it data dot image, data dot title, and we are using the DOM manipulation, which is document object model, which is nothing but it's a fancy term for replacing the image source and image text. And after some time, I am removing the class visible. So the visible is there because that's only for 3 seconds it will show, and after 3 seconds it will disappear. So if I click on add to cart, for 3 seconds you will find the add to cart, and after 3 seconds it will disappear. Cool. Now let's look at the shop section. For shop section, here WordPress uses something called trigger. So this trigger is a jQuery trigger. So jQuery trigger is required so that this is a little bit advanced concept. We'll dive deeper once we complete the add to cart single product page. We are completely focusing on single product page till now. As day passes, we'll get into the next module, which is cart, and after that we'll get into checkout, and after that we'll get into my account. So consider that we are in level 1, and the thing that you have to know is WordPress uses Ajax. That Ajax internally jQuery uses trigger. jQuery uses trigger, and that trigger is called added to cart. So this trigger gets called whenever someone clicks on add to cart button. On all the website, as said, on 3 different pages, there are many different pages where you could add those. Like in the home page, you will have product grid. In the shop page, you will have product grid. In the related product, in the upsell product, in the cross sell product, there is a product grid. In these 3 sections, there is add to cart section, add to cart button, and that add to cart button uses Ajax. And how does WordPress know all these 3 sections? There is, when someone clicks on all the 3 different pages, when someone clicks one of those pages, how does WordPress know, how does WooCommerce know that your add to cart has been added? So for that, jQuery has a trigger in it. So let me show you. So in your whole website, whenever someone clicked on the add to cart button, this trigger gets triggered. So this is a trigger. Once this trigger is triggered, I know as a plugin developer that someone clicked on the add to cart button. And when someone clicked on the add to cart button, I have to get those ID. Once I get those ID, then I use the same logic which I have used before. Like we're sending it to the load pop-up and all the Ajax manipulation done. All the Ajax manipulation is done. And once the Ajax manipulation is done, you'll find the small tooltip or small toast at the bottom. So that's how we know whether you are in shop page, whether you are in upsell, whether you are in home page. Our code works fine just by one line with the help of jQuery trigger. Now you'll find in the bottom, I think I have not saved it, that's the reason it didn't show up. If I refresh it again, save it and saving it, refreshing it again, even I'm not writing it on the writing the code for single product page, you will find this add to cart button tooltip shows up. See, it's working. So that's all for this studio video. Thank you so much for listening.